episode 8, Cast to Oblivion. I'm one of your co-hosts, Zach Donahue, and I'm joined by the Demonastery's own graduate assistant, graduate student, Carter Barton. Carter, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Lord
In your
Sutcliffe,
PhD? Yeah,
yeah,
big news for you.
Lord Sutcliffe gave me a glowing review on my thesis on why you should play Ominous, whatever the card that
Ooh.
is. You can recycle instants. There's a funny Vincent build now where you summon multiple Nazareth. It's not good,
Oh,
but it's really funny. I wrote a whole thesis
ominous
on it.
excavation.
Yeah, Lord Sutcliffe. Yeah, that card. You got it. Lord Sutcliffe gave me a glowing review on my thesis, so I'm well on the track to graduation from the monastery. Right in time for a new war of some kind that we got coming around the corner. So
Yeah,
the usual.
yeah,
How about you,
yeah.
Zach?
But
How was your week?
it was good. It was a good week. We got some good news with some big metas as a whole, some LL changes. We get to dive into that, some BNR changes. We get to talk about our weeks in Flesh and Blood and kind of just break down a lot of other things. We kind of it's always a weird spot. Like the last week of Nats right before we go into our pro tour is just a weird spot. But again, it's been a lot of fun to be playing Flesh and Blood and not like being focused on like grinding for something.
Yeah. Um, I know like you and I are in a little bit different areas with that right now because I will be going to Vegas in 2 weeks' time to participate in the calling. Um, so like I technically have a competitive event around the corner, but at the same time, I'm not too stressed about it. I'm playing,
I mean, it's sides, right?
yeah, I'm playing Ziggy at Armory lately, and I'm not bringing that deck to the calling. So
Fair.
whatever.
Okay.
So how was your week in Fab? What did you do for Armory?
It was good. So I had two armories this week. Yeah, I think it was two armories this week. So Tuesday armory, I brought Prism back for the last time. With her officially LLing on Friday, which was the 3rd of June, July, one
Mm-hmm.
of those months. I don't know, whatever J month we're in this time. But I brought Prism out. We have I've talked about this before. We have a lot of density of players who've never experienced Prism. And I think everybody should have to experience Prism once in their life. So I got to be that experience for them, and sending Heralds with Go Again into Angels with Go Again into Heralds without Go Again. Pretty good, pretty good. Highly recommend. So I had a lot of fun with that, and then right before we recorded this, we have a new store that opened up near us that's doing Flesh and Blood events, and they just do Sage right now as a way to kind of grow the game, which is a lot of fun. So I got to play Sage Acilio, play
Wait,
games with my friends.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming old Acilio.
Old Acilio. Acilio, yeah. So like there's a lot of interesting things that deck does. I think we've talked about Sage as a format, but not to dive in too deep with it. Like I've played a lot of Fi in that format. I've had a lot of fun with that deck.
Mm-hmm.
I got to the point where I was like, I there's nothing new and innovative with this deck. I need a new challenge. I need to move on to something. So this Acilio deck has been that new challenge for me. It's just like I've been able to flex a little bit more of my own deck building skills and like learning that skill, which is not a skill we talk a lot about in Flesh and Blood, is the ability to build decks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Sage gives you a lot of opportunity and lots of practice to do that. So it's been fun for me to play around with that. But it's a good week of Flesh and Blood.
Nice. Actually, sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
Supporting new stores is always great. So,
Oh yeah.
I had the 4th of July on yesterday. We were recording this on a Sunday night, but I did have my one Armory of the week today. I played Ziggy. We were playing Classic Constructed. Made some tweaks since last week. Added some more cards that block for 3.
Yeah, that's good.
My deck, like it blocked so much better today. It was great. Played against a Boost Puffin. That was my one loss of today. I beat New Acilio, and then I beat Vincent.
Nice.
There was a point in this game against Vincent that was really funny. Isaac, my opponent, was doing. He had like a nice large turn. I had a Pierce Reality in play. I passed back to him because I used my whole hand to just like convert defensively. Isaac draws up and then decides to use an attack action from hand to kill my Pierce and then trigger his Malefics and then save the rune chance for the next turn.
Yep.
Cool. Makes sense. The thing is, without pushing damage on that hand, it allowed me to keep 2 blues and 2 of the I forget the card name. It's the one from Mistveil that if you control a Spectral Shield, you can cast it as though it were an instant,
There's
and
a
then
lot of those.
it puts 3
Oh, Astral
count.
Etchings.
Yeah, so I had 2 red Astral Etchings, 2 blues, and then my arm piece up. So I activated my arm piece. I swung for 4 because I was playing Iris, and he goes, "Okay, no blocks," and I just go, "Okay." Double astral etchings. It's just 2 razor reflexes essentially hit you for 10. I'm like maybe 15 to 20 life up in this game, and then I just have to play defensively for the rest of it
Yep.
until he, eventually pulls a Vinset and runs out of setup and then dies to Blood Dead or can't convert hands. So it was a funny game. Turns out Ziggy with like Starplate does really, really well into arcane damage. So I mean, I lose the one matchup that I get like destroyed physically. I win both matchups that I have to prevent damage by pitching.
Imagine that.
Who knew? Yeah, total rocket
Ziggy's
science.
cool. We can talk about Ziggy a little bit more with the BNR because we got some new information kind of with Ziggy, some design philosophy stuff that we'll dive into. But that's enough of the news, enough of everything like that. Also, just a reminder to everybody, we do have a Discord up and running. Feel free to join that. We got the link in the description, and then also like we got a questions page there. We're going to be doing a mailbag episode here in just a little bit. Just love to talk with you guys, love to interact with you guys, whatever that looks like for you. If you have feedback for us on episodes, discussions that came up, thoughts that came up, or just generic flesh and blood conversation, we'd love to have that as well in the Discord there.
Yep. In the future, I'm sure we'll do more with the community and possibly do some. I'm sure we'll do like if this gets big enough, we'll do giveaways, we'll do events, we'll do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
should be
It'll
a
be a
good
lot of
time.
fun. But let's get right into the things. Metagame shakeup. The horse is dead. That's what I wanted to name the episode, but Carter wouldn't let me. But the horse is dead. Lots of celebration there, Carter. I'm gonna let you have as much time as you want here in some celebratory obituary, whatever you want to set it up as.
I have been jokingly thinking about writing eulogies for heroes when they living legend in our Discord, and I think I'll start with Victor.
Okay.
In terms of decks that have hit living legend with powerful strategies, Victor's up there. Visit the Goldmane Estate is a very strong card. He has an extremely strong late game. He abused the heck out of Remembrance. Gold tokens are pretty hard to interact with for most decks. And turns out that blocking 4 with a card, winning a clash, and then drawing a card is pretty good. With that being said, in terms of comparing him to other heroes have hit living legend, I don't really think that Victor was doing anything uber egregious, if that makes sense, right? Like he had a very A to B game plan of make gold, get rid of cards in my deck, grind down to an end game where I'm going to win because I have better card quality and I keep recycling those cards.
Yeah.
Cool. Makes sense. In terms of how this affects the metagame, I don't know if it does too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
There are a number of decks that I would argue can kind of step into his area, which is the blocks well, has good equipment suite, runs the game long.
Yeah.
New, to say a few, I would argue that like Jarl and Pleiades pretty easily step into that area. Granted, I don't think that Jarl has as good of an end game as Victor did, and I would also argue that Pleiades doesn't have as good of an end game as Victor did. We'll get to the BNR
game. That's a different conversation.
Yeah, we'll get to the BNR in a bit here. Victor's end game just kind of kills you, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
The other, like Pleiades end game with like Chorus of what is it? Chorus of Encore.
Cries of Encore.
Cries of Encore. You can break the loop. Like there are ways to like stop her from recycling her, confidence 7 or whatever. But
like Pleiades, she does the thing of like I'm playing from behind, and I'm going to get this more power from playing from behind, and then it snowballs to the point where it's like you're just on the back foot, and then I get ahead, and then I'm just like kind of doing the thing eventually. I don't know. It's a fun game plan to enact. I think it's a lot harder to do, and it's a little bit more inconsistent than what
Yep.
Gravy was doing, which was
Or
make
then
a
what
bunch of
Victor?
gold,
Yeah.
um, kill them, steal their money, be rich. Like,
Yeah.
it was one of those things. I think because Golden Sun was just struck such a strong card. Visit the Goldmane Estate was such a strong card. But when you were describing and talking about Victor's, it's like a very A to B game plan. I think that's a very good way to describe all of the heavy hitters heroes as well. We saw KO go earlier this year. Again, another A to B hero. Point A, point B, do the thing. Again, aggressive slanted deck. There were ways to play into fatigue and stuff like that. But again, he did his thing. He left. I think the heavy hitters heroes are designed well.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of their play styles and things that they've created for us are not the most enjoyable thing. That's a different point entirely. I think Victor, you just like, well, I can't get through this wall because they're running 12, 18, 4 blocks, things like that. And they're just like getting so much extra value off of those cards. It's just like, yeah, that's fair. Okay, cool. On to the next thing.
Yeah.
So it's good to see. I think obviously that season is officially over. Uh Victor LLing, Prism LLing is I think good for the game. I will say that. Like it's good that these heroes have moved on. We had some other heroes, Dio, Syndra, Fi, Kasai,
Kasai.
who are up there in LL points, and like those heroes are going to get the chance to shine over the next 3 to 6 months, and then they're going to go, and I think we're going to have a really cleaned up metagame. It'll be interesting to see how that all develops on the backside of this. But I think Victor's that first domino to fall. And now that you mentioned this, like who's gonna fill Victor's feet, Victor shoes, Victor hooves, however you want to describe it. You talked about Jarl, you talked about Pleiades. Again, Valda's another one of those guardians pushing those big numbers, being able to block out efficiently and send overrated attacks back on the other side. Like that's kind of the thing. And then again, that's going to arguably open up the conversation on Fab and Triangle metas, aggro
Mm-hmm.
deck, control slower type deck, and then the board state type deck. So not
Yeah.
sure where we're at with that, but I think we kind of talked about it. It's like it's definitely like a pentagon. It's definitely not a triangle. There's a lot more decks up at that higher echelon, and even so, like maybe those decks aren't at higher echelons, but there's more decks that are given a fighting chance. So
Yep.
that's again the good news from this weekend. The good news from Nat season as we kind of move on, and it's just like, okay, cool. On to let's talk about Nats. Let's talk about like what happened over the past 3 weeks or so.
Yeah. So regarding when this episode is being recorded, we're recording this on a Sunday night. We do not have official, provided information by LSS as to what occurred this weekend, the 4th and 5th of July. However, uh, we have gathered enough information to declare that Victor, yes, he's gone. He's hit living
Yep.
legend. But we do have enough to kind of share about what decks really stood out this season. In terms of how many unique heroes won nationals events, 17. That's crazy.
Pretty good.
That's I believe close to half, because I think 36 is how many legal years we're sitting
I
at.
think we have like slightly less than 40. So yeah,
Yeah.
36 works.
So hey, that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see, some random decks like Teklovasan take down a nationals. I think Katsu took down Australia, which is really
Yep.
cool. Like there's some really cool pop off decks this season.
Yeah. I think there's some like Teklo got one, Ira got one.
Mm-hmm.
I think Spy, no, Reinar. Reinar brought one down somewhere. So like again, it's cool to see one, the amount of heroes who won the Nats, but also if you think about it, it's like I think all but like a handful of heroes appeared in the top 8 of the Nats, which is
Yep.
pretty cool too. Like, we like to see that. We like to see that.
Yeah, and with some of these decks leaving soon, I think the upcoming ProQuest and Road to
Yeah,
Nationals seasons prepping for next year get even more exciting. In
yeah,
terms of who stood at the top, Acilio, number unero, the OG, the one with 2 less health. I believe took down the most nationals at 7. followed
Yeah.
by Jarl and Victor with 6 each. I did not expect 6 wins on Jarl.
I think Euro picked up a lot this last weekend because I think a lot of people were expecting Victor to be gone, so they didn't test for it. And then they just like, hey, I'm going to play Yarrow. I feel comfortable now on the deck, and they just went with it. And I think people who were expecting to play Victor were like, well, it's not going to be around, so they didn't have. So like again, I don't think Jarl beats Victor in just macho-y macho like clean matchup. But like if you're not expecting victors and you're expecting that deck not to be there, and the people who want to bring it not bringing it, like it's gonna be easier to kind of get over the hump there. And then he's still strong into those aggro decks, your Fies, your Syndras, your
Yep.
Dios. I've talked about this before a long time ago with you, I'm pretty sure. It's just like when Jarl came out, he came out right before the Hunted, which was, both Draconic heroes and then Mario. And I remember saying like, hey, look, this is a very aggro slanted set. LSS already has printed us the answer for like, hey, how do we slow this down? Because they gave us ice back in a way. And I think Jarl is kind of stepping into the like, hey, I'm going to slow things down. And I think now with Victor gone, he gets more of that opportunity to be like, hey, yes, I'm slowing things down. Yes, I can play Felling. Yes, I can play Plow Under, things like that. But he can also slow down the meta and make people play on his pace, which I think really shifts the meta.
Yeah.
Or hopefully shifts the meta once some of these other decks go as well.
Yeah, I mean, Jarl just has a strong card pool, so
Yeah.
I don't think it's really surprising that the deck has access to these tools to win games. In terms of who trailed kind of behind the top 3, Gravy Bones with, I believe, 5 total wins, and then the next 4 heroes, each with 3, Marionette, Vincent, Ziggy, and Puffin. I'm not really surprised. I think that deck is actually super... like, Mechanologist continues to get tools that you can
Yeah.
kind of just put in your sideboard. And if you're a smart enough deck builder and you're a smart enough player and you call your shots, you Babe Ruth it a little bit, you can answer a lot of different things. Whether that is anti-fatigue tech such as cognition nodes, whether that is gold stealing cards such as the mutiny cards for your Kasai's, your Gravies, your Victors. Whether you want to play Boost Puffin or whether you want to play Pirate Puffin, like the deck is very, very well rounded. I don't think she has any extremely polarizing matchups that she just wins automatically. I think you still have to work for it and
Yeah.
pilot the deck well. But I think if you build the deck for the meta you expect, I think Puffin actually is maybe, I would argue, the best hero in the game for having tools for everything.
I think Mechanologist as a class exemplifies that. But
Yeah.
I think Puffin does it a little bit more so than a Dio or a Teklo. Uh,
Yeah, I
Max
don't
is
know.
still, maxing
Pirate
around.
mixed with Mechanologist as like
Yeah.
your card pools you can pull from. There is a lot of weird tools that you can kind of
Yeah.
just
And
pull
there's some good
from.
synergies there too with, whatever you're looking for, kind of like, oh, I can pull from this pool and then it's going to supplement this other thing and vice versa. So
Yeah.
I think Puffin is, again, one of those decks to look out for. I think, again, talked about this before, is it's like we're going to see the kind of a ceiling of strength of heroes is going to drop down a little bit, but in doing so, the floor is going to rise a little bit, and we're going to kind of get this nice, like, consistent, next 6-9 months. Like, things are wide open. Obviously, we don't know what's coming with our sets in the fall, and we don't know what's coming next year. But like, again, we can kind of see this power level of some of these heroes. We've talked about Ziggy. Ziggy, I feel like being a caveat, new Acilio to a degree as well. But we can talk about that as we go into the BNR. But I think it was a fun Nats season.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see how things develop going into Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Victor officially gone. No real opportunity for any deck that's high up in the LL standings to LL by the time we get to Pro Tour. So we know the decks that are going to be there. We have the BNR available to us. So now the question becomes, like we talked about earlier, is like, is there a triangle? Is it a pentagon? Is it a hexagon? Is it a dodecahedron? Like, I don't know, whatever it is for like what the meta is at the top, and like watching those players kind of refine those lists and gets going. I think Jarl, Valda, and potentially maybe even Betsy can step into that Victor slower pace deck. And we're going to see, I think, a couple decks in that more aggro slanted. And then obviously we have Ziggy, that board state deck, or that third play style, second play style, however you want to describe that, being prevalent as well.
Yeah. It's gonna be a wild west pretty soon here. And on the horizon we have Mastery Pack Warrior coming in August, and then we
That's the
have
thing.
set 20 in September, Usurp the Shadow Throne, which we can chat a bit about at the end of the episode. But uh,
Hmm,
you know,
seems okay.
national season. I mean, I'd argue too that the game's coverage for like live streams and stuff has only gotten better since last year's national season. I think it was really cool these last 3 weeks being able to go on YouTube and just like searching the country that
Yep.
is currently playing their nationals event and just being able to check out like their top 8 or their Swiss rounds.
Yep.
So
Yeah. I think it's also cool seeing like community members, for lack of a better term, engaging and like commenting on those streams or casting those streams or things like that as well. Like I think it's good for the growth of the game, kind of having that grassroots effort. It feels like back where we were, like that first Pro Tour when like everything was like no one knew what was going on, but like now we have so much more of an understanding of the game that we can talk about these things at a higher level, a cleaner level. Like the education of the game is lifting up, which is really cool. But I
mm-hmm.
think like yeah, we are a good way to describe it is like it's the Wild West. I would love if like we would be stepping into this type of season for like a Pro Quest or an RTN. That would be a lot of fun. I think things are going to shake up by the time we get to our next Pro Quest. Like what you said, we're going to have Set 20 come out. We're going to have Mastery Pack Warrior, and we're going to have somebody on some level go. We have a lot of heroes in that 850 plus points, getting an opportunity to LL soon. So
Yeah, I
look
mean
forward to
the
it.
the next competitive season at local game stores is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Arguably like the top 4 decks at that point are probably all going to hit Living Legend within a month. So
Yep.
very cool. Uh, let's talk BNR. As far as our recording timings go, last week was great. We recorded on Sunday, we woke up Monday, and then we got a BNR. And what a BNR it was. Uh, ding
Banger.
ding dong, the witch is dead. Remembrance. A card that I would argue is on similar levels as Count Your Blessings in terms of a game extender. That is essentially an arms race where if your opponent has 3 remembrances and has enough defensive tools to get to a late game stage where those matter, and you don't bring any in, I think you lose a lot of the time. Depends on the card quality, depends on the situation, obviously. But it's a yellow. It's an instant, so it doesn't take your action for the turn. It's pretty dang free. Uh, if both Zach and I are playing a game in Classic Constructed and we both have 3 remembrances in our deck, I'd argue that there should just be no remembrances at all, and we can all have more sideboard slots for our heart's content. I have been told otherwise by many people. I've been told by people that Fatigue Pleiades all of a sudden is just like insane. I've had people tell me that like Huntsman, gets some brownie points. He does. There's no like insanely good instant speed shuffle effect for Hunter Hunted tech, but at the same time, I would argue that the game is in a better spot with Remembrance gone.
Yeah.
Will I hold a special place in my heart for those one of copies I've had in 80 card decks for the last 2-3 years and usually kind of left in the sideboard? Sure. But I think Victor is a very strong lesson as to why that card maybe should not be legal, which is if a hero's that dependent on one card or 2 cards in their deck and they just want to get to an end game with those cards repeatedly, maybe it should be a class specific thing that they're able to
Yeah.
shuffle cards back in their deck. So
Yeah. I like how you brought up the clash specific. Like I think as Flesh and Blood has grown, the generic pool per set is getting smaller and smaller. If you look at like the number of generic cards in Welcome to Rank, there were a bunch of welcome cards that were generics. But as we drifted more and more, as we've gotten better at, as Flesh and Blood designers have gotten better at designing the game, creating the game, and finding like how to create and inject generic cards into the sealed environment that then show up in the CC and constructed environments, it's in a really good spot. I like what they've done, and then they're giving clash specific and class thematically aligned tools to do those type of things. We talked at the beginning about ominous extraction. Like yeah, it does a similar type of thing that Remembrance does, being able to recycle something back in, but it's not doing the 3 copies type thing. So you're not getting the same level of density back in. There's Save the Thought, which is the wizard card that shuffles non-attack actions back in. Again, it's a good way to kind of just like get that game plan going, which is I think what it should be.
Hmm.
So I'm happy to see the card go. I never thought the card was the best card ever, but the card created, like you were saying, like game states and matchups and scenarios where you had to do it, and if not, then you lose out on that additional value coming back on in. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. Um, I never played it in any decks that I ran because I didn't need it, and I was just like, you know what, I'm fine. Like if I'm losing because I can't kill my opponent through fatigue or something like that, I need to find a better way to push damage or find a way to combo or something like that. Like that's how I looked at it and approached it. I really disliked watching gameplays and games that had that remembrance fatigue and loop. And one of the things that bothered me about it was like if we play a 55-minute game in Swiss, we're forced to play a little bit faster. We're forced to kind of do the things so we can finish that game. Remembrance in untimed top 8 rounds throws all of that out the window, and then like we're just playing a completely different game at this point, and I think that's kind of the thing that really bothers me about it. I'm just like, we have these rules that are set for Swiss rounds, but once we get past that Swiss round, it's like, okay, who cares, whatever, like be degenerate. I understand like slowing things down, making sure players have enough time to make the right decision, but remembrance being part of that loop does not help, in my opinion.
Yeah. The issue with a card like that is that you are extending game time.
Yeah.
Uh, sure, maybe it doesn't really come up in a game. Maybe you or your opponent just die because you draw 2 remembrances in a hand that you need a block or something like that. But the issue with a card like that is it's too free. It's a yellow, so it like pitches remotely well. 0 cost, so there's no cost curve to it. You can just kind of park it in your arsenal and play it whenever you want. And then the fact that it's like you're exchanging 1 card for 3 is pretty free, and you get 3
Yep.
of them. So
Yep.
I will not be missing it. I like the art. That's it.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I was able to
yeah.
offload one of mine before, I'm like, you know what? I have one left. Let's I'm gonna hedge my bets here. This will get banned eventually. I'm gonna make some money. Worked out pretty well for me. So I'll be happy with my last engagement with the card, as I'll call it.
$20.
You know what I can do with that $20?
What can you do?
I don't know, buy dinner.
Well, you can buy 3 Skyward Serenades.
Boom. Good
Probably.
segue. Look at that guy. Yeah.
I'm professional. Uh, Speaking of other things, so Remembrance was the only ban for Classic constructed in the BNR, but we have 3 unbans, and I think 2 of these are not expected, but like, yeah, I see this. LSS came out and they unbanned Skyward Serenade, famously a misprinted card, one that missed the mark when it was going through testing, and going from testing to print. Originally, one of the modes that you're supposed to select on this card was go again for itself, and you got 2 modes. So the issue with a card like this is that erratas are one of the worst things you can do for a physical card game. They're not good for both players and the company, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think there's only one. Actually, sorry, there's 2 erratas that I can remember LSS ever footing the bill to make a new version for, and that is Briar printing a new errated version of her hero card that
Yep.
they sent out in armory kits,
Yep.
and the traps from Crucible. The original
Yeah.
traps from Crucible. Because
Yeah.
they got rid of the traps
Play
being
from Arsenal.
required from Arsenal, but they made it so that the Crucible ones do have their own line of text requiring
Yeah.
play from Arsenal.
I like that.
I hate erratas. I think they're one of the worst things in card games.
Oh yeah.
Games like Hearthstone never have to care about them because Hearthstone can just like update their code, and that's that. That's the upside of digital card games. But for physical card games like this, cards like Skyward Serenade can be issues. Now let's talk about unbanning it. I don't think it's that bad.
I think it was bad in OG Aurora. It enabled offensive overlap that they didn't want and that they have slowly peeled back on. In current Aurora, how that deck is set up, how it plays, all these other things, yeah, cool, it's fine.
Yeah.
I I remember seeing Aurora get revealed, seeing all of us get our Omen stuff, and then like looking at Serenade and be like, yeah, this card would be fine. Like
Yeah.
I remember I had this conversation with my buddy. I was building an Aurora deck. I'm like, here's my Aurora deck. He's like, you have Serenade in the deck. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Um, like I think it allows Aurora to kind of sit in and find her home in the new meta. I think Aurora is going to be again one a popular deck. She's a popular hero, and then two, I think she's going to be able to do something that hopefully is a little different than what her original counterpart did. But also, that card being able to give something go again and create those embodiments and those type of things plays into that quick strike mechanic, which I think is a good thing. So it helps Aurora solidify her identity. I have no issues with it. I'm excited to see it. I don't think Aurora is going to be topping a bunch of events now because Serenade's back. I think there are slightly stronger aggro decks, and I think even when those decks go away, I think there are decks that can counter her and play
Yep.
well into her. I think new Aurora um, is a lot harder to pilot now, so the card isn't as free as it used to be, where you could just be like, "Here's the thing," um, go from there. So I have no issues with it. I'm excited for it. I think Serenade's a super fun card, even if it's misprinted. But I think also New Aurora, for lack of a better word, is designed with the misprinted testing version, so she functions better with it, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always a fan of putting more yellows in decks too. Uh, so I like to see majestic yellows. I think
Yeah,
it's a cool design space, where it's like one of those final levers from testing to print is like, okay, how much should this pitch for? In terms of new Aurora versus old Aurora usage of the card, old Aurora had a much easier way to pitch it to her hero ability. If you'd already seen all of your Skizzics and you had to like block with them or whatever. Obviously, the card converts without Skizzics because you just go like, okay, my next attack is +1, and then make an embodiment, and then
yeah,
it's like, okay, that's not terrible. Like you get an action point out of it, and you get a damage. That's not bad.
yeah,
Um, New Aurora, your weapon, you can't pitch to your weapon, and your hero ability is harder to activate because you need to create lightning flows. So
yeah.
I'm in the boat of like, I'm perfectly fine with Serenade. I don't think it's that busted of a card. Uh,
Same.
I think that if you're starting an Aurora Brew and you just start with 3 copies of Skizzics and 3 copies of Serenade without thinking, I think that that's a little bit boring. But that's like my only downside with the card.
I don't think I think you could. There are more Lightning and Runeblade cards that can get benefits off the embodiment and the +1 than just Skizzic. So
Yep.
you don't need to always search for a Skizzic now. Better yet, I'm gonna make the argument of you don't necessarily always need Skizzic in the deck, because you can do other creative fun things with the embodiment, with the other
Yep.
things that are going on. And I think that's the really creative and fun thing with Aurora. I think if people just go like, "Oh, I'm gonna build her like we built old Aurora," I don't think it's going to be as successful. I think there are the answer to New Aurora is hidden within the quick strike cards and finding ways to make that work. I think there are multiple ways to make that work, depending on if you want to go with a deck that's a little bit more disruptive or anything else like that in between.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Serenade is that we just got Quick Succession printed,
Yep.
and that card does a very very similar thing to Serenade. So there's sometimes even the argument where if you don't want to run the Skizzics package, that you should
Yeah.
just run Quick Succession, either yellow or red, instead of Serenade.
Yep.
I'm just happy to give Aurora some options. I don't think it's that
Yep.
bad.
Yep.
Technically, Aurora also got another option in the recently unbanned Blue Somersault. How are you feeling, Zach? You love this card, but
I love this
maybe
card.
not
I
this
think
color.
I think it's fine. I think again, red should not come back for a myriad of reasons. I think it's perfectly fine in Ziggy. I think it can have a use case in Aurora. I think Aurora can bounce back as like a Tempestuous Kiss or something like that. That sounds hilarious and funny, so I'm here for that. I think it also gives Ziggy the ability to kind of do the abuse somersault thing that Acilio did offensively, now defensively. Block with a Phantasmaclasm, bounce it back, send the Clasm, or send a Clasm, bounce it back, Arsenal the Clasm,
Yeah,
repeat. type thing into certain matchups. I think it's very matchup dependent. I think also like it gives you that ability with creative deck space. Um, you can't do the Blast to Oblivion shenanigans. Like that's good. Like it's a lot more narrow of a focus of how where this card is going to work. Uh, I don't ever see a world where we see the reds come back. Maybe this means like if it performs well and it's not too egregious, maybe yellows come back and then the reds are the only somersault band. I don't know. Maybe there's a world like that,
Yeah.
but I think it's exciting. I think this gets into the Ziggy. There were some comments made in the BNR about Ziggy is like, hey, Ziggy's not fully powered yet. Um, Omens didn't give her all the tools. Like, um, there are more tools coming for Ziggy in set 20 and in the future and things like that to help support the Aphrodite build. And if this somersault edition helps see that vision through, I have no issue with it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I played a couple games with the new somersault today. I had to change up my blue pool a little bit, so I was playing a couple more attack actions of cost 2 or greater. And then, yeah, I had a couple lines of play today where I was able to like return a Phantasmaclasm and Arsenal for the next turn.
Yeah. I mean, what I really want to do though, the dream, and if Cliff's listening, he's gonna get so excited. Is you go 10 foot tall and bulletproof with a go again, you bounce it back and then you send it again. It's
Or,
not good,
and
but
hear
you
me
had fun.
out, you settle a Phantasmaclasm for it because it swings one less, and
Oh, that's
then
even better. Yeah, yeah,
there's also no downside.
yeah. There's no downside.
Crazy.
I know. I mean that one works too. Like Plasm with go again is awesome. I think Ziggy has
Yeah.
lots of tools. I think Ziggy gets another tool here. Cool. I
Yeah.
have. I think it's fine. I think blue. I think we kind of all could see blue making a comeback at some point in time. Was it now? As quickly as we
Yeah.
saw the red one go? I don't think so, but I think blue is perfectly reasonable because
So
there's a deck building and a card consideration going with having the two or more costs.
I had a couple really cool plays today that were pretty neat. I had one where my opponent attacked me with a attack for 4, and I blocked with just a blue 3 block from my hand, and then I also blocked with one of the new compendium cards. It's the oh goodness, I forget the name of it, but it's essentially a 3 for 6 at red. When it is attacking or defending and leaves the combat chain, you get
Shimmering
a
Mirage, Shimmering
it has
Spectre.
Mirage, Shimmering
Yeah,
Spectre, yeah. So I'm playing blue of that in my list. So I blocked with that and another card, and then I somersaulted them back to my hand and got the Spectral Shield, and then got to
yep,
block with them again and got another Spectral Shield. Um, Besides that, you also have access to like blue Finals Fighting Spirit,
yep,
which you can gain some life, which is kind of cool. But
yep.
those are the only two
I'm
options that really do anything for
I mean,
the
you'd be
defensive.
probably playing the red if you're going to do bounce the. I don't
Sure,
know,
sure, yeah.
but
You play whatever your
I think
colors.
it gives you like again the opportunities to like it's the same thing we said with Aurora. It gives you now more creative opportunities to how you want to build the deck, without being like, oh, I'm forced into this style because this is what the deck is.
Yeah,
I think
it's not bad.
I think we're now seeing more creativity with like what decks can be. Ziggy and Aurora showcasing that a little bit more so than New Asilio.
Mm-hmm.
I think New Asilio will have his time to shine.
Sometime.
I think that time will happen. Well, one original Asilio has to go, and some type of support. What that support looks like, I'm not entirely sure. Is it additional wizard support? Is it additional lightning support? Is it maybe just a specific lightning wizard card in an expansion slot in 6 months? So be it.
Yeah, yeah,
But I also think old Asilio isn't long for this world. I think maybe 6 to 9 months if we're lucky. Uh,
yeah.
so,
Turns out the deck's really good. We've talked about it
yeah,
before.
yeah,
Final thing for the BNR, a card that I was not expecting to come off the ban list. At least now.
yeah.
Talk a big game, which is really interesting. So the reason this card was originally banned was because we were pre Super Slam, and see the metagame was like Verdant, Kasai, Gravy, Syndra,
Dio.
and Florian,
Oh yeah, Florian was around.
right? So it's like we're going into Super Slam, and then we get spoiled for two new brutes and two new or sorry, yeah, two new brutes and two new guardians,
Yeah.
and they hit a card that can be played multi-class in either role. And the reasoning at the time, I don't think they gave very much. The reasoning at the time was something along the lines of, we don't want Lyeth to be too souped up out of the box or something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Well, I think I'm not sure if it was that, but it was like it creates this like the snowball effect that creates non-games, and I think they wanted to avoid
Mm-hmm.
that specifically with Lyeth. And I
It's
think if I'm not mistaken, LL at Worlds there was a Lyeth or a Pleiades running around making use of Talk a Big Game. So there was merit behind the banning.
yeah, it's weird though because having put a lot of games into that hero, I do not think that Talk a Big Game is nearly the like absolute house of a card that people talk it up to be. I
Yeah.
literally think people talk a big game about talk a big game. Now, am I gonna say the card is not playable in Lyeth? Absolutely not. I think the card's great in Lyeth. It's a blue 3 block. That's solid. Cost 0. You know, a lot of the time Lyeth turns when you're popping off. You don't want to really pay very many resources if you can help it. Um, you have a couple tools with like the reviled pool where you can like search it now,
Yep.
which is pretty cool. And does that set up for game states where you're somehow like play one into another, and then yeah, you do that domino effect where it's just like, okay, I'm gonna name 8 on this one, and I have a confidence token, and then the next turn I'm bringing 8 mites into it, and then maybe I play like
Yeah.
double nimblism into an attack, and then play another talk a big game, and I'll name like 10 on this one, and then yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Is that also Magical Christmas Land? Does it require insane setup, pitch stacking, deck tutoring, proper arsenaling?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, setting up suspense auras to pop on
Yeah.
the same turn. Yeah. Is it easy to do? Hell no. Is it really cool in theory? And am I really excited to see people try and do this?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I love this card.
I do think you're the best description is people are talking a big game about talking a big game. Like I think the card is good. I think it gives Lyeth Pleiades ways to accelerate their game plan, and that's good because it also like allows those heroes, let's be honest, are fairly weak when it comes to power. They can do strong things, but consistent power, it now maybe hopes bridges that gap and allows them to be a little bit more consistent from a power point of view for a whole game, so that they can close things out or they can lead in the early game or anything like that, because both those heroes play slightly differently than what we've seen other guardians in the past do. So it's an important thing to consider. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's a good tool to have. How it gets used, I don't think it's going to be abused. I don't think we're going to be in live summer.
No,
Um,
no.
it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Also, we've had a lot more aura hate in
Yeah,
recent
we've
printings.
talked about that.
So if an aura of suspense Lyeth deck does pop up,
Yeah.
cut through the facade. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So,
And then other than that, we got
sit.
well, not small changes, but we got a couple changes to Sage. The two biggest ones probably are going to be Seeds of Agony, and then Cashin. So the gold supported heroes kind of get a little extra tools with Cashin, and then I think Seeds helps Chain out. I think Chain got gutted pretty heavily with the last
Yeah.
BNR, but now I think he has an identity in the space, and I think they're being very cautious with how they're allowing Chain to work. And I think Seeds is also one of those cards that is kind of high skill expressive. So again, it's not like one of those things that it's like, oh look, lightning press, burn up shock, play them at the same time. It's a little bit more than that. So I think again, you're the chain expert. You are the one getting your masters at the monastery, so you would have all of the
Yeah.
information
It's
available there. So
from some testing and chatting with friends who've been deck building, uh it's a nice tool to have. The thing is that having all the 2-cost RuneGate cards taken from Chain really put a stymie on his game plan. You can get fatigued pretty simply right now. And is Seeds of Agony a really good card? Yes. Is it going to allow you to win some of those races that maybe you didn't previously? Yes. Is it also just a card that says 1 arcane damage? Also, yes. So it's like, I don't think it's doing anything criminal in Sage right now. I think the most criminal thing is still Briar. or Oldhim fatigue piles, with a little mixture of Enigma or whatever else running around. Um, that's fine. Cashin's cool. I think that's a sweet tool to have for decks like Scurv, even like Kasai in Sage. Like that's neat.
Yeah,
Olympia, if that's to your liking. Um,
I think that
and
would be
then
cool.
uh, the card that we should talk about is Steelblade Shunt is back,
Oh yeah.
and that card is a house. Um, I don't know how I feel. I'll be real, because essentially now you're able to play Steelblade Shunts alongside Oasis Respites, and then you convert your hands extremely well defensively to a fatigue style game plan, and then you play Decimator Great Axe in either Dorinthia or a Olympia shell. So
I mean, we've had. I didn't think about this, but like Decimator Great Axe was a thing
yep,
because you could get excess value off the shunts.
yep,
Now again,
it's back.
we're
So
drifting back. Yeah, so it's just like, well, okay.
it's fine.
Um,
I'm
I
not
think
like
again the one thing that's like maybe makes it less prevalent is there's more wizards running around that aren't just Kano.
yep,
So the warriors kind of can get eaten up a little bit more so by the arcane that's running around Blaze, Silio, Icelander. So there's maybe a random Verdance at a Sage event, but again, it's one of those things that's just like it's not there yet,
yep,
but it could be something that's problematic because we did see that early in Sage's lifespan of that being a problematic interaction.
yeah.
Um,
And then Warrior also has a better game plan into both Enigma and Oldhim now. So
yeah,
those extra points of damage matter.
agreed.
My my good friend Merrick, the Kasai Myers is probably happy to see that back.
Yeah, but he's gonna play something with cash in and make a bunch of gold and something, and who
Well,
cares? He's not gonna he's too sophisticated to play Still
no,
Blade Shunt.
he'll just play both.
Yeah, that
It's a
probably makes
simple
more.
answer. They go both in the same deck.
Ah,
Now the card I also want to talk about for Sage really quick is Vigorous Smash Up. When Sage originally got spoiled, the first deck that I really wanted to build was Tough Nut, which is crazy to say. I don't play Brute, but my favorite card in a common and rare format is Unexpected Backhand, and Vigorous Smash Up was like the tool that put everything together because Tough Nut has a 2-cost weapon because you're usually playing Romping Club, and if you block with 3 cards from your hand and unfortunately activate Tough Nut and you hit a red, you can't swing your weapon and your game plan is terrible.
yeah,
Vigorous Smash Up allowing you to like win a clash, get a Vigor token. Okay, activate Tough Nut. Oh, it's a red, but I have this extra resource now. I can swing Romping Club, and it's really great math. Is fun.
make the
So
toughness.
I have played one game with this deck with the Vigorous Smash Ups in it, and
Was this the one that I was a witness towards?
yes. So last night with my friend Kellen, and he played Betsy. He has a crazy Betsy deck in Sage. We got down
It's actually
to
pretty dope.
the final hands, and this game was just really fun because we were both playing like Clash packages. So
Yeah,
it's just like a really silly game. I ended up winning because I got an extra action point off my revered boots or whatever. But I'm excited because I actually
yeah.
think Tough Nut in Sage is a legitimate deck with Vigor Smash Up.
Yeah, I talked about this. I'm not sure if I talked about this last week, but I've definitely talked about this to somebody at least multiple times. One thing that's been nice about Sense Compendium, and then obviously with Omens coming out, is Omens gave a lot of support to old young Acilio for Sage, and now that deck is actually real in Sage. And I think again, little things like this are allowing heroes that don't necessarily have a home in CC to have an opportunity to play in a format and to get opportunity to be played. And I think that's a good thing. And I think if that's what Sage does time and time again, then it's doing a good thing as a format. If Sage is just kind of copy pasting what's happening at the highest levels of CC, and it's just watered down it's not going to be enjoyable. That's some of the issues we saw with Blitz. But I think Sage is carving out its own identity. It's obviously going to go through growing pains, but I think again, LSS has been very, I don't want to say adamant, but they've been very precise with what they're banning and unbanning so
Yep.
things don't get carried away.
Yep. I think we're in a great spot right now. So
Yeah.
To wrap things up, I think CC and Sage are in a better spot.
Yeah.
With the removal, not removal, with the living legend of Victor, and with some of these unbans in Silver Age, I'm like actually excited about that format, and I want to brew a couple things now, which is a lot more that can be said, or a lot more that can be said compared to last week when I was like, oh boy, Lightning Press and Burnup Shock, I love this format. So, you know, they've done a good job if I'm excited to play Tough Nut.
I think they've done just a good job with like making um these formats like exciting and new. Like,
yeah, I did a ton of brewing this weekend after
yeah,
the BNR got announced, and
yeah,
it's exciting because I'll be going to the calling in Vegas for Pro Tour. And I had a deck that I was confidently going to play, and that was Puffin. And I believe I'll still play that deck for the calling, but like,
yep.
I'd be lying if I said that as soon as I saw Talk a Big Game unbanned, I didn't think about Lyeth. And with Blue Somersault, I was like, oh, maybe my Ziggy Brew is totally good enough for a calling. It's not. But, yeah, a man can dream. With that being said, some final news. Join our Discord, as we mentioned at the start of the episode. The link will be in the description below. This has been episode 8 of Cast to Oblivion. You can find us at Revel and Wraith, and
Sigil of something.
I'm one of your co-hosts, Carter Barton, joined by my co-host, Zach Donahue.
So
We'll see you guys in the next episode next week. We'll see what we talk about.
something Flesh Blood related.
Hopefully. Maybe it'll be a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast, but next week.
Chaotic.
Oh, yes. We're going to talk about that at some point. That's be great. Without further ado, thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys in next week's episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.